I'm just gonna do a little video on salvage bikes here. I don't do them often, but once in a while, one comes along the road down there at Copart or up at IAAC Insurance Auction. I might go up and take a look at it, see if it's worth it or not. We bought this bike here, and I can't remember. It's been a few years ago. Probably in 2020, I think, maybe. Yeah, I think we bought that in 2020, 2021, somewhere in there, which was XL 1200C, that, the one with the forward controls on it, custom 1200. That was wrecked pretty good. Got it for a decent price. Actually got it pretty damn cheap. Got it back here and had to, couldn't even get it off the truck because the front forks were bent pretty good. And the front wheel had a 21-inch front wheel that was actually kinked like this a little bit. So I had to get a wheel for it. It ran. Somebody had put some money into it. They had done some things to it. Obviously, it had an aftermarket ignition in it, and had cams, had an air cleaner kit, and some other goofy little stuff like that. And so evidently, the front base gasket was pouring oil out of it. So after we, didn't really worry about that at first, but after getting running and riding it for a while, it's like, man, it's really dumping oil out of that front base gasket. But it did run good until it started dropping the cylinder when it'd get hot. Started dropping the front cylinder, I think it was, which turned out to be the ignition system. I threw another coil on there, and it did the same thing with that good coil. So it was but anyway, I had to put an ignition system on it, and had put it on there. It ran good. I always thought this thing had cams in it, so because it had a little bit more power than a stock 1200. It didn't sound the same as a stock 1200. And while I had the top end off, I went ahead and pulled the cam cover off because I wanted to cut it down anyway and clean stuff up on it. But I have Andrew's N4 bolt end cams in it. So I put it all back together, painted some stuff, painted the cylinders heads, ended up porting the heads, and painting the rocker boxes, painted the cam cover. Already had a painted primary that I took off something else because every piece of chrome on this thing was peeling pretty much. And clean the bars up here, polished steering head bearing. Swapped out the front wheel with gas wheel, 19-inch cast, and that this had a disc wheel on the back, which all the chrome was peeling off of, so swapped it out for a 13-spoke rear, painted gold. Put some new tires on it, or we put new tires on it when I bought it, but when we first got it back together. But cut these off. The rear fender struts were crooked. Frame straight. I've already ridden this bike at like 105 miles an hour, 110 miles an hour. It goes down the road just as straight as could be. No worries about it on here. But some things to consider when you're doing a salvage bike, if you can, and you can, wherever you're buying it from, Copart or whatever insurance place you're buying it from, you're surfing through there list of bikes they have at the local facility. Make a note of it. You can go down there and check in, and they'll let you go check the bikes out. It's hard to tell from damage about how much damage they have by looking at pictures. In person, you can go down there and see. And, some of them run, some of them don't. I can tell you it's best if you can find one that actually runs. And if you get to know the guys down there, you might be able to take a jump box in there with you, so you can see if they'll actually start or turn over. I had gone to one insurance auction probably, man, it's been a long time ago. Probably almost 20 years ago. Not quite, but almost 20 years ago. Maybe 17, 18 years ago. And I was looking at a ZX6R, Kawasaki, because it was local and the bike, wasn't that ate up. I looked at it, and overall it had very slight wreck damage, very slight, and it didn't say anything about the motor being locked up. And in the ad, so I go in there and look at it. I got my little flashlight and all that. Check it. Ain't got no oil in it. Ain't got no drain plug. I mean, absolutely no oil whatsoever. And I popped it in gear and tried rocking it back and forth to see if the engine's locked up. And, pretty much when I saw it didn't have a drain plug in it, I'm not getting it. I'm just being nosy at that point. So checked that, and it was locked up. So it's like, nah, I'll pass on that. So when the auction came around, I was watching it, and somebody was buying it from, because you can see what countries are bidding on it when they're doing the online auction. And I want to say somebody from Mexico had bought it, sight unseen. They'll buy a bike, and somebody will come up, they'll contact somebody local to ship it down there to them. I was like, man, because somebody, two guys got in a bidding war, and you know how that goes. It went super high. You could have, for what it went for, you could have bought a good running used one already. And then you figure in transportation costs. So you figure in for what they paid for the bike plus transportation costs. You could have bought a $3,000 bike, running ZX6R, already running at that time. So you need to be careful at. Like I said, if you can check it out, go down there and look at the bike and see. And you're always going to have to pay a buyer's fee. So you need to add that in to the cost when you're wherever you're buying it from, and everybody's going to be slightly different on that as far as buyer's fees go. And your paperwork fee for your salvage title, which you're not going to get right away. You're going to get that in the mail. You'll get paperwork, but you'll get the salvage title in your name later on in the mail. And depending on where you live, may or may not be worth it for you to do it. Like some states, they don't issue a straight up salvage title. They'll issue a certificate of destruction. Meaning, once it's got a certificate of destruction, you pretty much ain't getting the title for that thing. So, check your local laws beforehand. You don't want to screw yourself on that unless you're just buying it for parts, which a lot of people do. I've done it. You buy one for parts, and you make more money off of it by stripping it down and parting it out on eBay or Marketplace or whatever. Somebody needs a swing arm. Somebody needs a frame if the frame's still good. Somebody needs wheels, front end, whatever you can get off of it. So just be careful of that stuff. Just some ideas there for salvage. Man, All right, you guys take care. Thanks for watching.